introduce EMBO, which is the organization that I work for. As was noted in the introduction, EMBO is the European Molecular Biology Organization, and it's an organization of leading life scientists. And the aim is to promote excellence in life sciences in Europe and to build a research environment where you as scientists can do your best work. And it does it via different programs that we have. And you can always go on the embo.org website to look at all the different programs. But the programs that I want to talk specifically today is about the EMBO fellowships. Now, I should tell you a little bit where our funding comes from, and also where, as you based in India, what you can apply for the EMBO fellowship program. And so the funding comes from EMBC countries, in part, which contribute money to the programs. We also have global partners where funding also comes from, and this is India, Chile, Singapore, and Taiwan. And so sort of this is the context that EMBO works under. Now, we have two programs at the EMBO Fellowship Program that I think are amazing for early career scientists. And I want to sort of just give you a brief insight into both of them, yeah? So we have the EMBO Postdoctoral Fellowships, which is a 2-year fellowships for postdocs with full social benefits if you do a postdoc within Europe. Outside, we give a stipend. And then we have EMBO Scientific Exchange Grants, which is to support international collaborations. And these are short-term research visits up to 3 months between countries to learn new techniques. And I said I'll tell you about both of them. I'll tell you about success rate. The application process is slightly different. The eligibility criteria are different, but I'm hoping after this, after my presentation, that you get a bit of overview of what's going on. Yeah. So the EMBO Postdoctoral Fellowships is a program that was actually launched in 1966. So it has a long and rich tradition. And it was launched as one of the first international postdoctoral schemes at that time. And in 2025, we had over 1,700 applications. We make about 150 awards per year. So the accept rate is less than 10%. Yeah, so it's a very, very competitive fellowship. What do we offer? We offer a 2-year contract. And a 2-year contract so this is within Europe, you get a 2-year contract. We make a contract with the institutes where you are working, and we pay the institute that then will pay you your salary, as well as contributing to the social benefits within the country. We have a relocation allowance, but and I said, take a close look at our guideline for relocation. We have a fellows meeting for awarded fellows that after that, at the end of their 2-year fellowships, they come to Heidelberg and share their experiences and their science. And then we also, when you're awarded, you can participate in different courses that we offer, such as the lab leadership course. For the timing of the call, and so this is really very important. So what matters for eligibility criteria, and our guidelines, everything is spelled out very clearly in our guidelines that is available on our web. For the eligibility criteria, what is important is the day that you submit your full application. Yeah, we have evaluation cutoff dates, but they're not important for your eligibility criteria. But there it really matters. You can submit your application year round, and it's really important that you are aware of the eligibility criteria because we take them into consideration when you submit your complete application. Now, what does the evaluation cutoff means? Yeah, we have 2 cutoffs. All applications received before the 4th Friday in January, and it's 2 p.m. CET. They enter the spring call, and the decisions are made in June. All applications received before the 2nd Friday of July enter the autumn call, and the decisions is made in December. So last week, we had the committee meeting to make the decisions on the applications that were submitted in July. Yeah. Now, as I said, these are evaluation cutoffs. It's really important to recognize when your personal eligibility criteria are, and here it's when you submit your application. I should also say, so it's always the fourth Friday in January, the second Friday in July. It's 2 p.m. CET or 2 p.m. CST, summertime. And we take these 2 p.m. cutoffs really extremely serious. And every time at our cutoff times, I always hear people, there's an internet, or the dog ate the application, or there's something happened with the internet at the institute. Yeah, do not apply so close to the cutoff date that you are missing it. Yeah. If you apply after the cutoff date, you will go into the next round, but it's still, you get a 6 months delay in the evaluation of the application. Yeah. So timing of the call is really important. Now, what is required for eligibility? We need international mobility. And what we talk is not, when we talk about international mobility, nationality is not what important, but what is important is PhD mobility. Yeah. And so PhD mobility, where you did your PhD and where you did your postdoc. There is no age limit, but you have to submit your application less than 2 years after your PhD. Yeah, you can only be 6 months in the destination country in order to be apply, and you need at least one research paper in an international peer-reviewed journal or a refereed preprint. Yeah, and as I said, all these eligibility criteria is you can see in our guidelines. What is not allowed is to return to the country of PhD where you did your PhD or to work with your PhD supervisor. We do offer some flexibility for parental leave or severe illness. And if you want, it's always good to check with the office before submitting your application. Yeah. So if you have any questions specifically for your case where you need, then send an email to the office. Now, for what do we mean in terms of international mobility? And so so we have sort of two different criteria. Applications to work in an EMBC member state. So anyone, and this is regardless of nationality or country where where PhD was obtained, can apply for an EMBO postdoctoral fellowship to work in an EMBC member state, provided there's international mobility. What I mean by an EMBC member state, if you go to the guideline, you can take a look at who are all EMBC member states. Now, applications to work in an EMBC EMBO global partners. Applicants are eligible if they move from, are nationals of, and have performed their PhD in an EMBC member state or an EMBC EMBO global partner. Yeah. If you want to go outside EMBC member states or global partners, there you have to be done your PhD in an EMBC member state. You have to be a national of an EMBC member state, and you have to move from an EMBC member state. Yeah. But as I said, all these eligibility requirements are all clearly spelled out in our guidelines. Now, how does the evaluation process work? It's a two-step process. All eligible applications are evaluated by the fellowship committee, which is made of EMBO members. And there's two steps. In the first step, the fellowship committee evaluates an abbreviated version of your application. Again, what they see in the step one is also spelled out in our guidelines. But what that means is after step one, that the top ranked 20 to 25% of applicants are selected for an interview. The remaining at this stage are rejected at this stage. Applicants that are then selected for an interview are interviewed by an EMBO member or young investigator. And then what goes then is that the fellowship committee then sees the interview report from the EMBO member or the young investigator. And then the whole application is evaluated and a funding decision is then made. Yeah. So remember, it's a two-step process. And it's really important for you to know exactly what the committee is evaluating in the first step. Yeah. Because they don't see your entire application, they see an abbreviated form. Again, our guidelines clearly spells it out what they see in the first part. So you have to make sure that your whole application is really well written, but to get to step two, know exactly what the committee will look at and what they have access to. Now, I have sort of just a few tips for writing an EMBO postdoctoral fellowship. And remember, it is a two-step process. Check our guidelines, what the committee will see on the first step. Hypothesis-driven research is always very good. Remember, you are applying for funding for 2 years. Sometimes we will get proposals that is basically a 5-year research proposal, yeah? And then it becomes questionable if it's really feasible, yeah? So hypothesis-driven research, and it should be really for a 2-year research proposal. This is not a lab proposal. It is your specific proposal for the next 2 years of your research. Clearly state the goals of the proposal. Structure the proposal in logical, organized ways. It's always helpful to use subheadings. Describe the experiments in enough detail that the committee can evaluate it. Consider feasibility of the project. As I said, what I see often is projects that are just really would be 5 years for you to carry out, yeah, and then this gets lower priority because it's simply not feasible. Include a timeline. If there are risky aspects of your proposal, mention alternative approaches. This is always very helpful, yeah. And keep in mind that the proposals should be easy to read, also for non-experts, that they should appreciate your significance and novelty of the work that you're proposing. So, novelty and potential. Keep in mind, will the project enable you to establish yourself as a new group leader? Make clear what new skills you will learn in the host lab and how this will form the basis of your future independent research career. Be precise and explain why the project deserves to be funded. Try to think about what novelty you're bringing to your approach when you describe your proposal. And importantly, and this is one of the very specific things of the EMBO postdoctoral process, if your project is a direct continuation of your PhD, it will receive lower ranking. We want to fund projects that are different from what you did at your PhD level. Yeah, this is sort of the aim of the EMBO postdoctoral fellowship. If your project is somewhat related to what you did during your PhD, make sure to stress why it is different enough from your PhD, yeah, because this will be an important selection criteria. I'm now going to move to scientific exchange grants, which are different grants than the postdoctoral fellowships. As I said, for the postdoctoral fellowships, it's really after you're done with your PhD, and it's really your first postdoc experience or one of your first postdoc experiences. EMBO Scientific Exchange Grant is aims to promote new collaborations with other labs, and here it's for a 3 months, maximum 3 months exchange, up to 3 months exchange. It's for research at all career stages. We require that you have 1 year of graduate level research experience to apply. We receive about 750 applications per year. The success rate is at the moment about 45%. We cover travel costs and daily subsistence rate. You can see this on our website, what it is for each country. It's from 1 week up to 3 months, and here there's no deadline, and it's a continuous evaluation. As I said, there's no age or career stage restriction. You have to have at least 1 year graduate level research experience. International mobility is required. And here we allow exchanges between EMBC countries and EMBC EMBO global partners. Very importantly, we want these exchange grants to set up new collaborations. So if there is an existing or a previous collaboration, like meaning a joint grant, a joint publication, it will be rejected. Yeah, so it is to set up new connections between labs. What is also very important for the scientific exchange grants is that you have to return back to the home lab for 6 months after the visit, because we want you to transfer the expertise and what you have learned back to the home lab. Yeah, so it's not a person. So of course we pay you as a person gets paid, but it's really to benefit your project and the home lab. Yeah, so it's not a career grant per se, but it has to be a benefit to the home lab. Yeah. What are we looking at? And so there has to be a biological significance. There should be a clear benefit for the home lab. The project that you're proposing has to build from the home lab's research. We want to establish new collaborations. And here it's really, feasibility is very important. Remember, it's 3 months that you're going to a different lab where you're going to learn a new skill or new tools. And so here it's really very important that it is very hypothesis and that your objectives are really clear, and that it's really clear why you need to do this project. And then we have to have good justification for the proposed host lab. As I said, all this is clearly, if you look on the website, you can find information about the scientific exchange grant, and the different eligibility criteria are spelled out. The grants are evaluated by the Scientific Exchange Grants Advisory Board, and this is how the evaluation is done. Now, for a scientific exchange grant, you have to describe, and there's a specific section on it, the key aim and objectives. Again, make sure the proposed research plan is feasible. Provide a research plan with a timeline for each objective. Clearly describe what is the benefit of the project for your project and for the home lab, and justify choice of the home lab, yeah? Just before I finish, my time is almost up. Just sort of a last few tips for grant writing in general. Know your funder and know the aim of the scheme. All funders have slightly different aims, and so make sure you know it. Sometimes we get lots of not sometimes we get lots of emails about eligibility criteria that is really spelled out in our guideline. Take your time to read the guidelines. Yeah, know your audience. Yeah, who are you trying to pitch it to? Be kind to your audience, meaning that avoid to use jargon. Try to make sure that your project is understandable. Explain why it's important why it's important what you're doing. Write clear and short sentences. Proofread correct typos. Just keep that in mind. For both the scientific exchange grant and the postdoctoral fellowships, you have to have reference letters from the host lab where you're going to go to. You have to have a letter of support. All this takes time. It all comes via our website, so contact them early, yeah? And what is always good, have your colleagues read your proposals and provide input. And this is very important. You would rather be criticized by your colleagues than being rejected because your proposal is not clear enough. And remember, it will take many drafts to get the proposal right. Be open to criticism and don't be afraid to reply. There'll always be a next time, and each time you learn something new. And I think that is